from the audience. Who's got a question out there for any of our panelists? Yeah.
My name is Raja, and my question is directed to all of you. What advice do you give a musician or an artist who makes their own original music and they're trying to...
So you'd want that, and if you want if a filmmaker wants to use your music and you don't know them and they use it without your permission, then that's one thing. But if you want your music to be in there, I would say develop a relationship with those people, find out who they are, find out who the representatives are to get a hold of them to put your song in there, because they'll need to have some form of a contract, unless you know them personally or they're a friend of yours. Because if it's a short film that goes to a film festival and it does well, that's one thing. But if it's like a narrative feature or even a documentary feature that I'm doing, I put your song in there, and then now my film blows up, you're going to want some type of compensation for that. So I would definitely say that the first thing you do is make sure you have legal representation for yourself, or make sure your song or your content is protected. And if you have that taken care of, develop a relationship with the person that you're trying to get a hold of or whoever. If you can't do that, then go through their legal system of who's representing them and go that way. I hope everyone kind of understands that. But you guys want to talk about?
There's also, I would also say, hang around places where filmmakers are. There's a web page called Stage 32. That's a good collection place for filmmakers, and I see people there posting and introducing themselves to filmmakers and saying, hey, do you need a score, do you need a song? This is what I do. Question?
Hi, I'm Len Feld, and I'm a screenwriter, and the advice I've been hearing is that the best way to move towards an agent is to have a body of 4 or 5 screenplays that you're trying to pitch. Once you're there, are you pitching by mail, are you pitching by email, are you just showing up at somebody's office, scheduling an appointment?
Matt Gilliam, you want this one?
DQ, you guys went down to the American film.
I'll jump on this one first.
Right.
So, yeah, again, the advice is to have a body of work of 4 to 7 films that you feel comfortable pitching. And then the goal is it's a difficult process, but it's to like win a screenwriting contest. That's one of the paths to sort of get some level of visibility, or belong to a screenwriting group, and you're going to getting other people to get feedback and doing table reads and getting some sort of recognition that way. But you've got to get to agents and managers and get some people there to read it. But yeah, I would definitely start looking at going to film festivals and trying to see if you could like compel somebody to like, hey, would you read this? If I gave it to you, or you get coverage. You eventually have to pay to get coverage, and they can help lead you to real paths once you're at that level.
One thing I might mention, I don't see him here. He was here earlier. Do you know Lou Osteen? That's he's a I'd say respected screenwriter here in town, and he knows a lot about the screenwriting world. So you might want to reach out to him. I know he's on Facebook, but he could probably give you a better answer than
If Marty was in the room, he would say the American Screenwriting Conference is on film festival.
Yeah, that's another thing too. We have Lou Hunter, who comes every year during the Sacramento International Film Festival. We put on a conference so you know about that, yeah.
Yeah, he's given me
some good advice, yeah. Okay, well, this gentleman back.
Question.
More of just a comment too, but my name is Richard Falcone on the Creative Edge. I want to put that pitch out there. I've been attending all the discussions that the city and county have been putting out related to this. I heartily encourage all of you as artists to go on the Creative Edge Facebook page, let your voices be heard, take that survey. We need to hold this city and county accountable for making things equitable for all artists on this. I want to thank Marty for attending. I did not know about what you guys were doing here until I started attending those sessions. And that's why I'm here, because I want to be able to collaborate more with you guys on the things I do theatrically, on what you do in the film. I'm also here with DC Davis, for their equity, diversity, inclusion, finding out how we can pull together the educational sectors into the community sectors to bring this out there. So make your voices heard, guys. The city has spent like $28 million on arts, and only 8% of that has gone to small art organizations, especially small art organizations of color, and this has to stop. So we need your voices. Creative Edge, go on there, hold your city leaders accountable.
Amen.
If you're an independent filmmaker, what is the best way to get your project funded?
There's no set, well, hey, go ahead.
Family and friends are great. Use their houses, use their cooking for craft services. No, seriously. Yeah, I had like nothing on, like I think one of my films, and basically people just want to make something awesome. If you have a solid script and if you have that passion and the vision and you share that with those people, they'll help you out. That's really it.
Yeah, I have to second that motion. I know that crowdfunding and other ways to get funding for movies have become popularized, but they've almost become over-popularized to a point of where people almost ignore them to this point. Right, it's a little oversaturated. So yes, absolutely, I agree with Matt that it's going to come from your base of people that, you know, your friends and family and things like that. And also, like it was mentioned earlier, you know, you want to get out there in the community and meet people and things like that, and other creative people, and you'll be surprised about how much, you know, people will put their money where their mouth is in terms of supporting you.
One other thing you might, consider, I say go outside the box, is, there's a lot of money out there, federal grants and things like that. If you can somehow tailor your script towards being somewhat of something of the educational background, there's ways you can, There's lots of money out there. I know people have actually done it. They've gotten money from the federal grants. So you might want to look up that as well. I mean, that's another way. That's one of those questions, honestly, there's no set answer, because there's different ways. Because he might get his funded one different way, me, and so forth. So, but what everyone is telling you here, those are options. So it all comes down to options.
You want me to take it? So I'll answer in two ways. One, from the advice I got from Graham Streeter. Graham Streeter is a director. He's done some amazing things that's shown here at the Sacramento International Film Festival, and he directed the last thing that Pam Finney is in. A lot of people, you think about screenwriting and you're thinking about car chases and explosions, and you're trying to dream as big as your ideas. And Graham had the advice of like thinking backwards and saying, what do I have, and what movie can I make at that location? So he would find a relationship with somebody who's got a cabin or a house or something, and then he would write a movie for that place and with the assets he has, and then he could make a movie for very cheap, and you're just bringing your crew to a house for a weekend. We're getting the food, we're living there, we're doing this movie, and we're done, and we're not thinking about like, how am I going to do this Hollywood style? The other way I would answer that question is what DQ and I are doing. We started out with a crowdfunder. We raised $10,000 with that. It started out as sort of seed money, and now we've taken that money to shoot some of the scenes, and now we're trying to make an economic argument to people and saying, look at what we have. This is what other films this movie is like. This is what those movies made. We can't tell you we're going to make that much money, but we want you to invest in this idea. And it took us a long time to get to this point. We're still sort of fine-tuning our business plan, but that's really sort of the backbone, is to try to make a logical and artistic and economic argument that you should give me money to do this, but it also depends a lot on trust. And what have you done before, and is this a reasonable bet that I would give that guy $10,000 to go play with?
And that's really the task you've got to go is how do you get that trust? People have to like you. You have to build rapport with them. You have to have a vision. It's like you said earlier, just follow your vision. Be strong with that. Any other questions? All right, we're going to wrap.